As a child, we often see things a little differently than adults do. There is a purity and clearness to our perception that we often lose as we grow. Here's my story, a fairy tale. I was 5 years old and I was really proud of the fact that I was a big girl. I hadn't yet run into the prejudice that would accompany me with my Coke bottom glasses and disability that had yet to show itself. I was a happy child. My home and family were my universe. However, there was this one thing. I hated naps. Every afternoon, Mom would have me lie down in bed to take a nap. Sometimes I'd sleep. Sometimes I'd play games in my head or play with my doll in my bed. This was one of those times that I just couldn't sleep. I laid in my bed all restless and bored. I lay on my side. I could see outside my open window. It was a beautiful day. I longed to be out there playing in the yard. I sighed and I closed my eyes for a second. I heard an ever so slight swishing sound. When I opened my eyes, I could not believe what I saw. She was so beautiful with golden hair and bright blue eyes, and she was waving at me from the windowsill. I smiled, and she said hi in the tiniest of voices. I had heard of them before. I'd even seen pictures of them, but there she was, sitting on my windowsill. The fairy was dressed in a wispy white dress. Her wings were as big as she was. I stared at her for a minute, decided it was time for me to get up and take a closer look. As I got out of bed, she stood up and watched me approach. I reached out to pick her up, and whoosh, she was gone. When I put my hand down, she returned. I was so excited. I had my very own fairy. I wanted to tell my mom right away, but the fairy said that I was to keep her secret. I asked the fairy where she lived. She told me she lived in the garden. I asked her if she were mine. I even told her I'd build her a little house that she could stay in my room with me. She shook her head to indicate that none of that would do. We talked for a while about her garden, home, and how she lived among the flowers when they were in bloom. Her favorite was a moonflower that only opened at night. I was so excited I told her that was my favorite flower too. I told her how I love sitting on the swing porch at night watching the big white flowers open in the moonlight. I could even imagine her there and how fun it would be to have her as my friend. I was starting to get a bit tired of standing. She said I should lie down on the bed, and I did that. I watched her for a while as she flew from window to bush and back again. And then I woke up. I looked frantically for my fairy. She was gone, nowhere to be found. I was so upset. My mom came into the room and asked what was wrong. I was afraid to tell her for fear that I would, violate the secret. In the end, I did tell my mom about the fairy. Mom listened and stroked my hair with a sad and concerned look on her face. She said maybe the fairy would return the next time I took my nap. Wise mother. I never had a problem with nap time after that. I kept the fairy secret except for my mom for years afterwards. I knew the fairy wouldn't mind about my mom knowing. I never saw my fairy ever again. As I grew older, I realized that it was a child's imagination that was at play. Regardless, it was so real to me. I can still see that beautiful little fairy in my mind's eye to this day. I believe that a child's imagination is a wondrous and beautiful thing. Wouldn't it be nice if we could maintain that wonder as an adult?